The first time I saw my house's solar panels being vandalized, I was celebrating my arrival at Maple Grove Estates with a glass of champagne on the porch. The broken glass shimmered in the twilight, while Sarah Blackwood watched the scene from across the street with a slight smile. She had made her opinion about my sustainable energy system clear from day one, but I never expected it to come to this. Maple Grove was every tech professional's dream: smart homes, innovative neighbors, and a vibrant community. Or at least it was until Sarah took over as president of the Homeowners Association. Within weeks, my decision to turn my house into a sustainability model sparked a war that would split our community and forever change the future of the complex. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like for more stories like this. The sound of an electronic notification echoed through my smart home. It was the third alert this week. Apparently, my solar panels and rainwater collection system were messing up the look of Maple Grove Estates. Sarah Blackwood, our newest neighbor and self-proclaimed guardian of the community's traditional values, was determined to make my life a nightmare. I watched from my home office window as she crossed the street in her immaculate black Tesla. The irony of a finance exec driving an electric car while waging war against solar energy didn't go unnoticed. Sarah had just wrapped up a messy divorce, and it seemed like she was pouring all her energy into a crusade against any sustainable project in the neighborhood. At the latest association meeting, she announced her candidacy for HOA president. Her speech was a rant against what she called tech experiments that devalue our community. Her eyes locked onto mine when she mentioned the disruptive elements that needed to be controlled. What she didn't know was that my system had already inspired other residents. The Wilsons installed panels just last week, and Elizabeth Peterson was developing an app to manage the community's energy use. Maple Grove was naturally turning into a hub of sustainable innovation, and that clearly bothered Sarah. I decided it was time to act. I organized a presentation for the next residents' meeting, showing how my systems not only saved resources, but also boosted property values. The battle for Maple Grove's future was just beginning, and I wasn't planning on backing down. The welcome party at the club was in full swing when the lights flickered and plunged the entire hall into darkness. Panic set in immediately. Dozens of young professionals tried lighting up the place with their phones. Meanwhile, the charity event upstairs, organized to raise funds for renewable energy projects in the city, came to a complete halt. I ran outside, straight to my house, bracing for the worst. What I found confirmed my fears. My solar panels, which powered backup energy for the club, were completely destroyed. Shards of special glass covered the meticulously cared-for lawn, glistening under the moonlight like shattered diamonds. My smart security system had recorded everything. On my smartphone screen, I watched the high-def footage. 2 hooded figures, precise movements, professional tools. This wasn't random vandalism, it was a calculated operation. And the timing couldn't have been more suspicious. Right during the event set to showcase our sustainable energy's potential for the community. As other residents gathered around me, I noticed Sarah standing off at a distance, her face partly lit by her phone screen. She looked more annoyed by the chaos than shocked by the vandalism. Mike Anderson, a well-known sustainable tech influencer who was presenting at the charity event, came over to inspect the damage. "This wasn't a coincidence," Mike whispered, pointing to the precise cut marks on the panel mounts. "Somebody made sure the whole system had to be replaced." Officer Bradley Thompson arrived minutes later, his experienced eyes scanning the scene with a keen focus on the digital evidence. As a tech crime specialist, he immediately grasped the sophistication of the attack. As the crowd dispersed and emergency crews worked to restore conventional power, I realized this was just the beginning. The attack wasn't only on my solar panels. It was a declaration of war against everything our young community was trying to build. Officer Bradley inspected every inch of the destroyed panels while I transferred the security recordings to his tablet. His face grew more serious with every detail he uncovered. "These cut marks," he said, "were made with tools designed specifically for solar panels. Whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing." News of the vandalism spread quickly through the residents' group chat. Elizabeth Peterson, who worked remotely for a clean energy startup, was the first to share how the incident affected her work. Several other professionals reported missed meetings and compromised deadlines during the blackout. Detective Emma Harrison arrived the next morning, and her background in corporate crimes brought a new perspective to the investigation. As we reviewed the evidence, she noticed patterns reminiscent of past corporate sabotage cases. "This isn't ordinary vandalism," she explained, showing reports of similar incidents in other innovative communities. The investigation revealed that the damage wasn't limited to the panels. The entire home automation system in nearby houses was affected. The Dawsons, Both doctors who relied on a stable connection for telemedicine missed important consultations. The Wilsons, who created content about sustainable living, had to postpone crucial recordings. While analyzing the system logs, Mike Anderson discovered something even more disturbing. Somebody tried to breach the main network of the complex before the attack, he explained, showing a series of hacking attempts. They aimed to shut down our entire security system. During the evidence documentation, Detective Harrison received an intriguing call. Her source revealed that Sarah Blackwood had a history of similar conflicts at her previous company. As an executive, she had led an aggressive campaign against renewable energy startups that threatened the traditional business model. The impact on the community went beyond just material losses. Young pros who chose Maple Grove for its tech infrastructure began questioning the place's safety. Emergency meetings were called to discuss additional protection measures. The technical reports confirmed my suspicions. The attack was meticulously planned. The attackers knew exactly where to cut, which systems to disable, and the perfect moment to do maximum damage to our condo's reputation. Bradley and Emma worked non-stop, connecting evidence and building a solid case. Every new detail pointed to a well-orchestrated plan, far beyond simple vandalism. The attack seemed to have one clear goal: discredit sustainable initiatives and keep things the same. As the investigation advanced, I realized we needed to act on two fronts: strengthen our security and show we wouldn't be intimidated. I organized a task force with other residents to build an even more robust protection system that integrated advanced monitoring technologies. The community was changing. What began as an attack on solar panels was uniting residents around a common cause. Maple Grove wasn't just a tech condo anymore. It was turning into a fortress of sustainable innovation. Detective Emma Harrison spent days digging into Sarah's background and uncovered a disturbing pattern. In her old role as an executive at Goldman Sachs, she'd systematically blocked investments in clean energy startups. Documents even showed her involvement in aggressive campaigns against green tech companies, all under the guise of protecting traditional values. Mike Anderson organized an emergency presentation for the community, sharing his findings about similar attacks on other innovative condos. "It's not a coincidence," he explained while projecting data on the screen. "There's a pattern of sabotage against communities that threaten the traditional energy model." Working from her home office, Elizabeth Peterson traced a series of suspicious emails exchanged between Sarah and executives from conventional energy companies. The emails laid out strategies to contain the spread of disruptive technologies in upscale residential areas. One particularly tense afternoon, Sarah showed up at my door. Her tone was different, less aggressive, more calculated. She offered a deal. She'd drop her complaints about my solar panels if I convinced other residents to ditch their sustainable projects. Her offer revealed the real reason behind her move to Maple Grove. "You don't see the bigger picture," she argued. "These experimental technologies might seem progressive, but they're a real risk to property values." Her rehearsed speech sounded just like the same justifications she used in her past corporate campaigns. Emma discovered even more. Sarah had recently bought significant shares in traditional energy companies. Her war against sustainability wasn't just ideological, it was about money. Every community that resisted the green shift was a win for her investments. The Dawsons, using their medical contacts, found out that Sarah had tried to block telemedicine initiatives in other developments, always sticking to the same "protect our values" script. The Wilsons even started documenting everything for a documentary on resistance to sustainable innovation. The investigation linked the vandalism to a consulting firm Sarah had hired in her previous role. The specialized tools used in the attack were the same ones used for safety inspections by that firm elsewhere. Mike noticed a pattern in the cyber attacks that came before the vandalism. The malware used to try and breach our systems had the same signature as previous attacks on other sustainable communities. The only difference was that our more robust tech infrastructure had held up better. With each new discovery, it became clearer that Sarah wasn't working alone. She was part of a larger network determined to slow down the advance of sustainable technologies in residential communities. Maple Grove wasn't just another property on her hit list. We were a test case for her strategy. Analyzing market data, Elizabeth found an even bigger pattern. Communities resisting pressure against green tech didn't just hold their value. They appreciated significantly more than traditional developments. Our fight wasn't just about sustainability, it was about the future of the real estate market. The residents gathered in the club's party hall, now running on an emergency power system. Elizabeth Peterson led the discussion and shared data showing how sustainable communities outperform traditional condos financially. The Dawsons talked about other doctors who specifically chose neighborhoods with green infrastructure for their digital clinics. The Wilsons live-streamed the meeting for their audience, turning our local fight into a larger movement. Supportive comments poured in from across the country, including from sustainable urban development experts and investors, keen to replicate our model. Sarah appeared in the middle of the meeting, accompanied by her lawyer. Her face showed a mix of disdain and concern when she saw how many residents were there. She tried interrupting several times, citing obscure condo regulations, but the community stayed united. "We're not just defending solar panels," Elizabeth declared, displaying real estate appreciation charts. "We're protecting the future of our investments." Her presentation showed that properties with green tech had gained 40% more value than conventional ones over the past year. The Dawsons presented a study on how sustainable infrastructure improved quality of life. Their medical research showed significant improvements in mental health among residents of green communities. "It's not just about clean energy," said Dr. Dawson. "It's about creating an environment that promotes well-being." Mike Anderson then presented his analysis of the security systems. "Every attempt at sabotage made us stronger," he explained, showing how we had boosted our digital security. "We turned every attack into an opportunity for innovation." A group of young families, led by the Wilsons, proposed setting up an educational program about sustainability for the condo kids. "We want our children to grow up understanding the importance of green innovation," they argued. Sarah, looking visibly irritated, made one last play. She presented a petition demanding the removal of all sustainable installations, claiming they were unsafe. Her move was met with technical data and certifications proving the exact opposite. Then Elizabeth unveiled her final move, a proposal to turn Maple Grove into a pilot smart community project, backed by major tech investors. The plan included expanding green infrastructure and creating a research center for sustainable technologies. The vote was quick and decisive. An overwhelming majority supported Elizabeth's proposal, effectively ending Sarah's attempts to reverse our progress. The defeat on Sarah's face was stark against the residents' celebration. As the meeting wrapped up, I took in how much our community had transformed. What started as a dispute over solar panels had grown into a much larger movement. Maple Grove was no longer just a luxury condo. We were a model for how residential communities could lead the transition to a sustainable future. The Wilsons closed their live stream with a powerful message. From an attack on innovation, a green revolution was born. The views skyrocketed, and soon other communities began reaching out to follow our example. Robert Mitchell, an attorney specializing in environmental law, got in touch after watching the Wilsons broadcast. His arrival marked a turning point in our battle. "You're not just defending solar panels," he explained during our first meeting. "You're setting a legal precedent for sustainable communities across the country." William Cooper, who had quit his job as a financial analyst to focus on green tech projects, presented a detailed report on the economic impact of our initiative. The numbers were impressive. Our community had become a case study in sustainable real estate appreciation. The legal process soon took shape. Robert found that Sarah's actions violated not only environmental regulations, but also laws protecting technological innovation. The evidence Detective Emma gathered built a solid case against corporate interference in sustainable projects. At a preliminary hearing, William showed how Sarah's tactics were part of a larger strategy to slow down the adoption of green tech. His financial reports revealed a complex investment scheme designed to maintain the dominance of traditional energy. Elizabeth then coordinated a team of developers to document how the attack on our systems disrupted remote work in the community. The calculated economic losses further reinforced our case. "It's not just about material damage," she argued. "It's about trying to stall the future of work." The Dawsons contributed a medical study on the health benefits of living in a green community. Their data showed significant reductions in stress and better sleep quality among residents using sustainable tech. Sarah tried to counterattack with a team of corporate lawyers, but her plan collapsed when Robert exposed the conflicts of interest in her investments. The investigation revealed that she had received hefty bonuses for neutralizing sustainable initiatives in other communities. The decisive moment came when William presented projections showing that sustainable communities were outpacing traditional developments in property value. "The market has already decided," he declared. "The future is green, and trying to stop it is just poor financial management." Mike Anderson organized a live demo to show how our sustainable systems had evolved since the attack. Our green infrastructure's resilience impressed even the skeptics. "Every attempt to bring us down," he explained, "led to innovations that made us even stronger." The legal battle ended with a court order that not only protected our sustainable installations, but also set guidelines for other communities to follow our example. Robert assured us that the legal precedent would be strong enough to deter similar attacks in the future. "You didn't win just a local battle," Robert concluded during the final hearing. "You created a legal defense model for sustainable communities across the country." The smile on Sarah's face completely disappeared, replaced by a look of defeat as she realized her crusade against green innovation had utterly failed. The transformation of Maple Grove happened faster than we ever imagined. With the legal process resolved, we implemented an integrated renewable energy system connecting every residence. Elizabeth led the project, creating a smart network that optimized each home's energy use. The old condo club turned into a hub of sustainable innovation. Local startups began using our space as a lab to test new green technologies. The Wilsons documented every change, and their broadcasts drew international attention to our project. Mike Anderson set up a mentoring program, connecting experienced tech-savvy residents with those keen to upgrade their homes. Weekly sessions at the hub became a meeting point for exchanging ideas and developing new sustainable projects. The Dawsons started a long-term study on the health benefits of living in a green community. Their early data already showed significant improvements in residents' quality of life, attracting interest from universities and research centers. Elizabeth developed an app that let residents monitor and optimize their energy use in real time. The tool was so efficient that other communities started asking for access to the technology. Our transformation's success attracted investors interested in replicating our model. William Cooper, now fully dedicated to green tech projects, coordinated expansion proposals. Our condo became a case study in urban sustainability. Common areas were revitalized with vertical gardens and rainwater harvesting systems. Inspired by the change, the kids in the community started a science club focused on environmental solutions. The Wilsons even turned this initiative into an online educational series. Every new project strengthened our reputation as pioneers in sustainable living. What started as a dispute over solar panels had grown into a much larger movement. Maple Grove was no longer just a place to live. We were a model for how future communities could operate. Subscribe to the channel and leave a like for more stories like this.